So I'll try to mute you guys. Then when I need anybody to talk, then I will unmute everybody. Okay, good afternoon. I just want to quickly do this webinar to be able to let us know what to expect in this week, so that if we want to take some trading decisions to be properly guided. I think I can still have some noise. Okay, I think all my participants are muted right now. So I'll quickly go through everything I want to. I don't know where the noise is coming from. Can you guys all mute yourselves?
Okay.
Let me try to see. I think one or two people are still not muted. I can hear some noise. Okay, it seems to be better now. So what I want to do is to let us see what we can expect this week, so that if you want to start trading, you know what to watch out for. And I'll quickly run through some of the analysis I've done down. Then within the next 45 minutes, it should be done, so that I can commence the proper training I have for my student. So let me start with the weekly. So what I do basically is that I have M5 on the MT5. I usually draw the analysis. That's the expected market movement. I can see here some noise, and I don't know that. Okay, I think it is clear now. So what I usually do is that I do my analysis down on the weekly and daily time frame, so that whenever market opens, I can know what direction of trade to expect. So, for instance, in the Euro USD weekly, we have a WXYXZ correction. Now, I explained the Euro USD analysis last weekly webinar, where I let you see that we have impulse, for instance. After this impulse to the upside, it is expected that we are going to have, market is going to correct, which is what is clearly doing right there. So we are in a corrective structure right now, and it is a complex structure. This is a flat, and most likely this can just be, we now have an ending diagonal here. So in the overall, we are going to have something that looks like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, before eventually market will now go to the upside. So we are still expecting one more down move for this Z here. We have WXYXZ before markets will go to the upside. So it's going to form something very, 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 very simple in the long run, which is something like this: impulse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then all this whole area represents your correction before you now start having the next impulse to the upside. So that's one possibility. The second possibility is that you can just have impulse, the market just do a WXY and go to the upside without retracing at all. But based on the complex nature of this, we are expecting that it's going to go for the Z before eventually now go to the upside. And last week, I made mention of a very similar structure that we have here in the USD JPY. In this USD JPY, we have a similar structure, USD JPY daily. And if you remember that right here, which is this place, I gave a signal that you guys should buy for this pullback, which is for wave 4. And that's what eventually happened this last trading week that we are in. Market got to this place and went for this corrective move, wave 4. Now, we don't know if this is the end of wave 4, but the rule, what we know about the rule is very simple. What we know about the rule is that wave 4 should not overlap wave 1. And if this is the end of wave 1, then we expect that the maximum that wave 4 should get to should be around here, which is the 111.014. So there can still be some up movement when market opens tomorrow. Price might still get further to this area before eventually going for the 5th move. Now, don't be fooled by the 5th move to keep your trade to the downside, because what's the understanding of the structure that we have is this, that we have a corrective structure. We are in a corrective structure. You have your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We are not yet in the 5. We are in wave 4, and wave 4 is complex. And for this 4, we are having WXYXZ. So market is still expected to come down lower before it keeps going to the upside. So I want you to be well guided so that by the time you are trying to sell, by the time you are trying to, if you are in a buy, for instance, you should look out for a possibility of rejection around this zone, because there's a tendency that market will still go down before it will now continue the move to the upside. So let me just take it bit by bit so that I don't jump too much. Now, the Euro JPY, just like I said last week also, that I'm expecting a correction. That is wave 4 on the Euro JPY. If I go to the daily time frame, you'll be able to see it clearly that we are now in something that looks like an ending diagonal. Now, for an ending diagonal, it can take a long while. When market is consolidating in this form, it can take a long while before it finishes. So if you are not patient enough, you would think that the market is not going to sell, and you may be looking for a buy opportunity, especially because it looks as if it has broken a top. Now, some people is going to be looking for a buy around here. Let me show. Yes, some people will be looking for a buy. They'll be looking for a buy around here because they can see that market broke this top. Some people will also be looking for buy right here because they can see that market broke this top. But if you are a good trader that have foresight, you should be able to try to look out for the overall market structure. If I zoom it lower, you'll be able to see the overall market structure, which is the fact that we are in wave 4. This is your 1, and this is your 2. So invariably, market has been moving down. From here, we have an ABC correction up to this point, which clearly has ended. Now, we now started having this move to the upside. And so we have this first impulse, then we have a correction, which is your wave 2. Then you have another impulse, you're expecting a correction before you now have the final impulse, which is 5, right here. So, but market will not just go up, market move in waves. So we are still expecting the correction of this movement to the upside. This movement here, you are still expecting the correction of this move right here. You expect that it should correct down before market goes to the upside. Now, if I clear this drawing and I try to draw a channel, you'll be able to have a foresight of what to expect based on the channel that I will draw. So if I draw a channel that looks like this, it will give you a guide on what to expect on the price action. So you're expecting that market will do something like this. Come here, then go to the upside where you have a channel that connect the two together, something like this. Now, how long this is going to form, how long the ending diagonal on the daily time frame is going to last, I do not know. But the structure I know right now is that we are in an ending diagonal where this is your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm not sure if the 5 is completed yet. So the possibility of price still getting to this zone is feasible. You can still get here. Now, for you to know the maximum that price go to, you can go for your Fibonacci expansion tool, for instance. Fibonacci expansion, you can draw from the high to from the low to the high, for you to know the level, the Fibonacci level where you should be watching out for. It's not giving what I want. Let me click again. So that is where you know the maximum level where price will get to before it's eventually sells. I'm going to take out this because, okay, now price has broken the 1.618 around there. So if I want to find the next level, for instance, I can find the next level to be either 2.0 or 2.618. 2.0, and this will be my FE 200, and the other key level is 2.618. 2.618, and this will be FE 261.8. So if I click on OK, so definitely this is the zone where price is right now, and I'm not expecting it to go above that level. That's the 2.0 and 2.618. So the maximum price you get to is this area of price action for it to now go lower. So as you are trading the Euro JPY, you should be looking for a sell opportunity, especially because you are expecting yen to be strong. So that is why when the last time when I was talking about USD JPY, I told you that there's a possibility for one more downside. And so when you are looking at an overall price action, you need to compare the price action of similar currency base. For instance, I'm looking at Euro JPY, and at the same time, I can see the price action on USD JPY, that there can be one more move to the downside. So that means there's a possibility that yen will be strong here. If I go to the GBP JPY, let me do this. If I go to the GBP JPY, which is this, I'm expecting on my 4 hours time frame or the day time frame, I'm still expecting one move to the downside, which is for the wave 4, before we eventually go for wave 5 or C. So all indication is pointing that yen can be strong because GBP JPY may sell at the interim, USD JPY may sell at the interim, then Euro JPY too, which I just analyzed for you guys right now, may also sell for the interim. So it will give you an indication that you should expect yen to be strong. But it may not be strong immediately. There might still be some up move before it eventually now selling. Now for Euro HUD, that's Euro AUD. You remember that this was where I placed the B before, but now we are having something that looks like a deep correction. So right here, this is where the B should end before we now have this C down. And I gave you this signal call around here to sell because I thought price is going to do an expanded flat right here. This was where I was expecting price to come down and start selling. But the sell didn't happen here, and obviously the sell might happen around the 100% of this move, this wave 5. If I zoom it lower, you should be able to see the price action better, which is this. So you might have something that looks like an harmonic pattern, which you have something like this triangle, then this triangle. Now, the kind of harmonic pattern that this will be is most likely going to be a back pattern. I'm going to send you guys the analysis later on in the group, but most likely I don't expect price to exceed this level, that which is the maximum it should get to before it should sell. If it's going to exceed this level, then there's a way you be able to calculate the extension level where price should get to. Now you are going to calculate the Fibonacci expansion from here to the upside for you to be able to get the maximum where it should get to for a sales setup. Now, the maximum it should get to for a sales setup is the 1.272 and 161.8. If it's going to sell from 1.272, that means it break the top. That means we have something that looks like this. It broke the top. After breaking the top, it went up. So this kind of price action is stop hunt. That means they know that there are some people that will actually be selling here, and so they want to take as many stops as possible. And there's a possibility that price can still go for the 1.618 before you now start selling to the downside. Now, if price just broke the top and get to this level, then it is a cipher pattern. Then if price breaks that top and get to the 161.8, for instance, then you can have a shark pattern, which I've explained to some of my students, the formation, different harmonic pattern that they can look out for. Now, that ends the Euro AUD. The next one we will consider is the Euro GBP. Now, for the Euro GBP, let me zoom it lower so that you guys can see the overall price action that I was trying to tell you guys. Now, if you recall that in the Euro USD, we have this kind of similar structure where we have impulse, then correction, then impulse. So this is where Euro USD is now in that structure that you can see on the weekly time frame. And that is the kind of structure Euro GBP has done. So just like I said before, this is the WXYXZ corrective structure. After market make this kind of impulse move, it is expected that it will correct and now make the next impulse move. Now the internal structure is supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before market now go for the next impulse. So market has already done that. That is what we want to have now on the Euro USD that I showed you guys before, so that you know that when you are trading Forex market don't just move because they want to move. Market move because there are structures that professional traders can see. And so they are trading based on the structures that they can see. I'm trying to zoom this higher. So you can see that it is very close to the structure I just showed you now on the Euro GBP. This is the corrective structure, and we are expecting more to the upside. But if you look at the overall swing, the internal count, you still have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are expecting 5 before we go for the final move to the upside. That may not happen. It can just be a WXY correction or a WXYX correction. So after Euro GBP has done that, this is where we are right now. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is I'm going to draw now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The market's correcting A, B, and C. So that is why in the group, I was telling you guys to only be looking for sell opportunity because of this overall structure that I can see in the chart. There's a possibility that we can still have this move to the upside, so the downside, before market make another correction. Now the whole area right here, this whole area is the corrective phase. So right now, for you guys, what you just need to be looking out for, is a sell opportunity. Now there's a possibility. Another possibility is that you can have something that looks like this: impulse, correction, the market corrects again, trying to retrace about 100% of this move to this downside, going to the upside. Then if there's a failure around here, then you can now be looking for this harmonic pattern, which is this. And it's most likely going to be a bat also. Let me calculate the Fibonacci retracement. And yes, it's going to be a bat because it didn't get to the 61.8. But even if it gets to the 61.8, it's either going to be a bat or Gatling. Now, the difference between the bat or Gatling is that for the Gatling pattern, it's going to retrace. Market is going to start buying around the 78.6. But for the Gatling, market can get to the 1.13. It can retrace at the 88.6 or it retrace at the 1.113 before anything could happen. So we can say have movement to the upside, but I'm not looking for the move to the upside. I'm looking for a sell opportunity. And whenever I get that sell opportunity, I will communicate it to you guys in the group. Now, that is for the Euro GBP. Euro CAD. I'm actually not going to be in this trade at all for some while because I have a confusing price action. The price action on the weekly time frame is not the same as the price action on the daily time frame. Until when they are together, then I can look for a trading opportunity. But here, I can see a structure that looks like this shoulder head shoulder pattern. So if this level breaks, then market is going to test here before going down. But if it doesn't test there and continue rejecting this area, if for instance it doesn't test there and continue rejecting this area, then we have the pattern that is respected on the daily time frame, which is this. It can be a cipher pattern also, where you have this retracement, then a break of the top. Now, the break of the top can be decided upon by what I did before, where you calculate your Fibonacci expansion to from this high to this low, for instance. And I will be looking out for the 1.272 and the 1.618 as a possible sell zone. So I'm saying the market can either sell at 1.272, which is the level where it is right now, to go to the downside, or it gets to the 1.618 to go to the downside. But because of the confluence, because of the confusing nature of what we have on the weekly time frame, which is a shoulder head shoulder pattern, for instance, and a break above can go to the upside, I'm going to stay away from Euro CAD. But if I look at the 4-hour time frame, I could see a three drive, where you have your impulse, and this is your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4, your 5. So if market is going to sell right now, this is the level where it's supposed to sell. This is our ending diagonal, and after the 5th move, which I'm going to calculate the Fibonacci expansion level now of this to the upside to give me the 127.2 as the sell zone. As you can see, market is clearly at the 127.2. So if this market is going to sell, this is where it should sell. Now, from indications, we can see that Euro USD has a sell structure. You can see that the Euro JPY has a sell structure. You can see that the Euro AUD also has a sell structure. Euro GBP too, the overall direction is a sell. So most likely we might have a weak euro. So definitely the structure here can be valid by this week. We are going to confirm it. Once it rejects this area, then the sell will be confirmed. The next one is the GBP USD, and I've already communicated this structure to you guys before, which is that I'm expecting the last impulse to the downside before any story. Now, this is clearly a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I'm going to draw right now. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and I'm expecting my wave 5. Now, this whole movement is a corrective phase. And the fact that it broke up to this level doesn't invalidate the structure. This can just be an activity of stop hunt. Now, after the rejection of this zone, then you can now start having a sell to the downside. Now, if I go to the daily time frame, now this kind of structure that you're looking at right here is very similar to what you can see right here. So the markets keep on going to this upside doesn't mean an uptrend has emerged. It is actually going to be a corrective structure. Just as you have it here, you're going to have a similar structure right here. Then you now have the final move to the downside. And here, you can be expecting something that looks like an handy diagonal, just like I showed you in the Euro USD chart. In the Euro USD chart, we have something similar in the daily, which is this, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before you now start having the move to the upside. So let me go back to the GBP USD and the daily time frame. So on this daily time frame, you still have that same corrective structure, WXYXZ, but in this case, it's for a bearish market direction, not for a bullish. What we have been looking at before in the USD JPY and Euro JPY is for a bullish corrective structure, where you have impulse, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before market make another impulse. Now, in this case, you have an impulse here. The market is making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the next impulse to the downside. So that gives you an indication of what to expect. If I go to the daily time for the 4 hour time frame, for instance, you'll be able to see the structure clearly. And I'm sure that I gave you guys this harmonic pattern that formed here, which is I think the Gatley formation. So we are saying that this can now be your wave one. If you want to do your counting now, this can now be your wave one. This will now be your retracement wave two. And so you are expecting an impulse move to the downside for wave three. Now, the Fibonacci expansion, the formation for a wave three is that it should be a minimum of 1.618 expansion of wave one. So if I calculate the expansion from this high to this low, I'm going to get the exact minimum target for wave three. So that if you are already in the cell, as I posted in the group, you know where to hold your cell before you start having any story. So right here at this level, let me have the price level 1.618, and this is going to give you the price. So the price right there is 1.37509. That's the minimum price you get to before it goes to the upside. So you can now have something that looks like the 1, 2, 3, then a retracement 4, then the final move 5. That will complete this structure right here. Then you can now expect some consolidation around here for price to go lower based on what we have already identified on the higher time frame. So I'll be let me go to the next one. The next one is the GDP JPY. Next one is the GDP JPY, and just like I said before, I'm still expecting this movement to the downside for wave 4 based on what we can see here. If this market is still going to go to the upside, then it needs to have corrected this move like it did here. It needs to first correct this before it goes to the upside. You'll see it clearly on the daily time frame right here. So we are in something that looks like a similar structure that I showed you before, like a diagonal. I'm just trying to be very fast right now because I could see that the session will soon be ended. I'll need to go to the training session with my students any moment from now. So even if price is going to go higher, for instance, if it wants to keep going further to the upside, at least it needs to correct this. You need to get to this level first. After getting to this level, then we can now find whether it's going to reject this zone to the upside or it's going to range, give us something like a flag and go to the downside before going to the upside. Now, the next one, which is the, let me just quickly go to GDP AUD, AUD USD, and gold. I may not be able to finish every analysis today. Now, clearly for GDP AUD, we are still expecting wave 5. And what market has done right now is just a retracement of this, move to the downside. This is just a correction. Now, the overall correction of this, is not yet completed because clearly we are in an impulse move. After this impulse, we are in a correction, A, B, C, D, E, before we go for the final move to the downside. And right here, we can expect that price can still go lower. Now, it depends on whether oil is going to be strong or GDP is going to be weak. But clearly, I can see an harmonic pattern of this nature. So if price rejects this area and go lower, then our setup is valid. If we decide to go higher, then I'll be looking for the cipher pattern or the shark pattern. But the only thing I'll be looking out for here is a sell and not a buy. Then let me go to gold. The gold, which is this, clearly this is the weekly time frame. And before, the analysis I did on this was this. I was expecting that price is not going to go this low. Just hold on. I'm having a boot. I'm expecting that price is not going to go that low, and it may do something like this, which was the Gartley pattern that I showed you guys before, and on the daily time frame, it will be clear by the time I go there. So I saw something that looks like an handy diagonal right here on the daily pattern, but price still went ahead to get to this level and rejected it. So now I have a structure that is going to come as low as coming to test this area right here, in the sense that this is the structure that we have. We are in an up move, for instance, in this area right here. We are in an up move. We're in an up move. The market corrected. Now, after the correction, this seems to have been the end of the correction. Before we now have this, let me change the color so that you guys can see. Before we now have this to the upside. So this can be your A, B, and C. After the C, then you can now have a continuation of the upside that will form the overall pattern of this 1, 2, 3, before you now start looking for another downside. That's the overall market direction. But if you go to the daily time frame, it will be very clear that we have a rejection around this zone. We have a rejection around this zone, this area. So we are now going to be looking for a massive down sell that can go as long as giving us, I think, about 1,000 pips or 2,000 pips. Now, if you look at this price action on the 4-hour time frame, I posted the setup there that I could see a shoulder head shoulder pattern, which I posted in the group, and that was the reason why I gave that call. This is the neckline, and this is the first shoulder, the head, and the second shoulder. So we'll be looking for, if this neckline break, then we'll be looking for a sell continuation to the downside. Now, this is how far I can go right now. I believe I've been able to give you some insight on what to look out for in this week. If you have any question, I can quickly attend to one or two right now, and the ones I'm not going to be able to attend to, I will give justice to them in the group. So I'm going to unmute you guys now, and if you have any question, just let me know. Yeah, any question, guys? Any question, guys? And I hope it is clear.
I know, so far so good.
Okay. So if you have any question, just ask me in the group. I will give justice to them. I want to end this session now. You guys have your. You guys enjoy your weekend.
Hey.